North and South Seafood and Smokehouse presents The Kelly Sheffield Show on 100.5 ESPN and Wisconsin On Demand. Alongside Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball head coach Kelly Sheffield, here's John Arias.
Welcome in. It's the Kelly Sheffield Show. John Arias joined by Wisconsin Volleyball head coach Kelly Sheffield. The show brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. Coach, congratulations on the 5-match winning streak for your team. You know, something that I noticed is after the matches, I don't know if you do this every time because I'm not part of every post-match press conference, but you and your players will give the cheers with the glass of water.
Yeah.
When did that start?
I think it started this year. I think so. Yeah.
What's it?
Yeah.
I mean, what's that? It's just, did that just come about? Like just somebody said cheers and you just did it? And
I don't know how I think there's been a match or two that we have forgotten. It's you know, because we move different players and some players it's like, yeah. And some others, you know, they're, you know, maybe, you know, the common person is me. And sometimes I don't always remember that. And some other people that have done it a few times, they will remind me. I don't know. Winning is hard. You know, it's just because we do it a lot doesn't mean that it's really hard. And sometimes we can take it for granted. And, you know, there's sometimes that I'll leave I'll leave the field house after talking with our team and doing all the media stuff. And I'll get in my car and drive home. And it's like, man, was it joyful enough afterwards that I really need to say, hey, 90% of that match was really good, but you know, there's 2 balls in the second set that we should have covered that we did. You know, does something like that need to be said constantly? And you know, I've been trying to remind myself that it doesn't need to be perfect for it to be really good. And let's not be a thief of joy.
It's funny you said that. You said about kind of that nitpicking. I guess I'll use the term nitpicking because you did talk about leaving some blocks out there after the match. And I'm sure that happens every single match where you see things, then you're like, well, you know, we missed 3 there and that set or whatever. I mean, do you see that all the time for even with a great team like Wisconsin?
Okay, let's think about it. If we played 5 sets, if we play 5 sets and all the sets are about decided by 2 points and maybe 1 or 2 of those sets go beyond 25, you could have 250 points.
Yeah.
And in a game where you can't stop in the middle of a rally and get everybody organized, right? And so there's a you know, and there's so many rebounds, you know, off the hands. It's not a, you know, grab it, hold it and look around and then go. It's a rebounding game and it happens so fast. Yeah. There's a ton of stuff that you're sitting there going, ugh, you know, but the ability to deal in that, to manage that, to not judge it in the moment, to just keep moving is really, really critical in our sport. And it's really where confidence comes from as well. It's the importance of confidence in our game. It plays out in 5th sets when you're seeing people that miss serves by 10 feet. They probably haven't spent a lot of time put their mind in that position. It plays out on an out of system ball that you're putting up there. And do you have the courage to play that ball 30 feet away with your platform when you're kind of in a run and you're going in the exact opposite position, direction of where you're sending the ball? If you know, do you have the confidence and the skill to be able to put that 1 or 2 feet away from the net so our attackers can get up there and hit with range? If you're a little bit less confident, that ball you're putting that 11 feet off the net and the hitter can do nothing but just pepper the ball in play. There's all of these little confident points that happen all over the place. And those things add up over time. There's so many points that are played out in those 250 that, yeah, there's times that you walk away from there going, ugh, you know, I don't know. Did I just do the Newman?
Newman Seinfeld reference. Well, despite some of those plays that perhaps, like you mentioned, it's a great point. If you play 5 sets and you're going through so many points, hundreds of points, there's going to be moments like that. Despite all that, 3.5 blocks per set, I think, is the number for your team over the last 5 matches. Now, Caroline Crawford this past weekend had a mega success, 2.8 blocks per set. We spoke to her after one of the matches. I think it was after the Northwestern match, and she said a couple of things that helped her out: calming her eyes, staying still, and staying disciplined. Can you talk a little bit about what that means for middle blocker to do those things?
Yeah. So when a team is out of system, your eye work isn't as critical. Your footwork isn't as critical. When the opponent is out of system, you know where the ball is going. And you typically have time to get out there and set up your block and get in sync with the blocker or blockers that are next to you when you're out of system. When you're in system, and especially when the setter is running a pretty fast tempo, like, Oregon, let's take them for example. When the setter's back row, they will have 3 front row attackers and a back row attacker. That is more attackers than we will have blockers, right? And they're typically putting them into seams of the blocks. Your ability to have calm eyes. So a lot of blockers, when they first get into the college game, when you're watching the eyes, they're like pinging, ding, 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 ding. Yeah. Hit her here. Where's the passer? The ball's going up in the air. I'm following the ball. Oh, I've got this. And that speeds the game up. Yeah. And, how do you do things to slow the game down? One things we showed a clip last week of what's his name, the quarterback for Baltimore,
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he had, I'm sure everybody's seen it, this touchdown throw against my Cincinnati Bengals a couple weeks ago. It was just ridiculous of how he had the ability of all this chaos that's happening all around him. He was able to slow the game down in that moment to make an unbelievable play. And the eyes can either speed up the game or it can slow it down. And it's and that's what CC was talking about, is better eye work is leading her to be able to see things in a calmer way and make cleaner moves.
Very interesting. All right. I've got some questions about ice cream coming up for you. So fans, I'll explain why I'm going to ask Coach Sheffield about ice cream, plus the winning streak, not only the 5-match winning streak, but it goes beyond that. When you talk about playing in Madison at the UW Fieldhouse, we'll touch on that as well when we come back on the Kelly Sheffield Show. Welcome back. It's the Kelly Sheffield Show. John Arias joined by Badgers head coach Kelly Sheffield, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. Hey, before the match against Oregon, it's actually Dairy Day for the match against Oregon, and fans were able to sample UW Volleyball's new Babcock ice cream flavor, Pop Set Spike. Pop Set Spike. Now, I know it was Pop Set Spike. Yes, that's the name of it. Yeah. So Sarah, Devin, and Yulia all had an opportunity to create this new flavor. Yeah. I'm sure you've probably had fans, if you've watched the videos, you taste tested it. Your first reaction, you thought it was, well, why don't you tell me your first reaction to the ice cream when you had it?
When they told me the ingredient, so I think they came up with this flavor themselves. When they told me the flavors that were going into this, I would have to say that I was extremely skeptical. Yeah. And they continuously assured me that it was, I thought I was being punked. I was like, how do these flavors go together? What are we doing? And but they assured me that once I had it, that I would change my tune, which I did. It was a solid flavor. It was a good flavor. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I mean, I want to try some, but it's like popcorn flavor in there. I think strawberries and chocolate.
I don't know. You see, okay. You just saying that combination just killed sales. It's better to not know what is in it. There's a few foods like that, right? Sure. Just like we're better to not know what's in it. it's as long as nobody's allergic to any of those things, it will be surprising to how those things come together.
So there you go.
I'll leave it at that.
All right, perfect. I think you left it perfectly. Pop Set Spike. That's from Babcock Ice Cream and the new flavor put up by the volleyball team. Check it out. All right, so Wisconsin has won 5 straight matches, looking for number 6 in a row when you get Oregon. But when you look back at it, the success at the Fieldhouse has been just outstanding. 24 straight home matches. Overall, that's counting the Kohl Center Classic dating back to last year. I dug a little bit deeper and looked at Big Ten matches only. Last 27 Big Ten matches, regular season at the Fieldhouse, 27-0. When you hear some of these numbers, what do you think when you hear some of these outrageous, kind of winning streak type of numbers your team has been able to put up?
It's a hard place to play. It's not. They're not just getting our team, but they're getting our crowd and our fan support. And I know we play a lot better, as anybody would with fans that are behind us. It's it's awesome because there's been an adjustment that I would say to during our time here. I would say there would be a period of time that when we weren't playing very well, the crowd could get a little bit restless but something has happened in the past, I don't know, handful of years where our fans see their role of being able to uplift and empower and give us a boost of caffeine or energy or whatever. And at really appropriate times, it's like, hey, we've got your back here. We're all in this together. Let's go. And that is really important to a team. And then once we start humming and playing pretty well, and that place is just electric, man, it feels like an avalanche that's happening in there. It doesn't guarantee us victory, certainly, but it certainly helps.
Yeah, the numbers are 407, at least during the 5-match winning streak, which, the last few have been here at the Fieldhouse, and 40 hitting errors and 413 attack attempts. I mean, those are pretty solid offensive numbers, wouldn't you say? Yeah,
it's offensively, we're getting better. It's, our first couple matches, there was we weren't able to do a lot of team play in preseason, essentially because Oz hurt her ankle and Franklin was coming back from her ankle injury. And so there wasn't a lot of multi-contact back and forth in the preseason. So when things were getting a little hectic or in transition, our numbers were pretty low. I think our third match was against Stanford. I think we hit 317 in that match. Since that match, so Louisville, we didn't hit very well. Texas, we didn't hit very well. Although we hit well in some certain sets, overall, we didn't hit very well. Our team's hit 325 since those. Since Oz has been in the lineup playing front row, team's hitting 348. And so that's pretty gnarly numbers since she's gotten in.
Those are fantastic numbers. Now, the Big Ten standings have Nebraska and Penn State as we record the show today, 6-0. Then it's Oregon and Wisconsin at 5-1. Yeah. If you do, when do you start looking at conference standings, or do you start looking at conference standings? Because Friday is a chance to, kind of get some separation from Oregon and keep pace with the top two.
I'm always looking at it. It's, okay. I don't think you ever want to be oblivious to it. And I don't know if that's a good strategy if you're trying to win. We've got Oregon and Michigan, who has gotten a pretty good record up to this point. And it's about ready to get tougher for them. It's about ready to get tougher for us. But, I would say by the end of this weekend, most likely you're looking at a separation of 3 teams. And are we going to, I don't think you want to find yourself 2 games back, as you're heading the halfway point. That seems to be an awful. Is it possible to be able to make it up? Yeah. But you don't want you want to be a part of that peloton.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it's a big moment for the team against Oregon. Like you said, Michigan 4-2 in the conference standings heading into this weekend too. So they're just on your, nipping at your heels too. So it's going to be another key
match. There's
been
some awesome matches this year, across the country, people that are just volleyball fans out, beyond just being Wisconsin volleyball fans. There's been some unbelievable battles. There have been some unreal matches that have been fun. A lot of them that have been on television. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that our Oregon match will be. Is that right? But
I think it's a streaming one. Yep.
Okay. Well, what that should mean is, hopefully nobody's sitting at home saying, "I'll just catch her on TV." We need those butts and seats there at the field house.
All right. Hey, when we come back, some fan questions for head coach Kelly Sheffield. We got some questions about the middle blockers, Kelly, coming up. So we'll tackle some fan questions next on the Kelly Sheffield Show. And this is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. John Arias joined by the Badgers head coach Kelly Sheffield. Time for fan questions. I put this post out on X yesterday asking for questions for you. And my first question is from Corey. He asks, what are the key factors for deciding which middles start each match? And it kind of interweaves with Joe's question about how are the middles handling the alternating playing time?
I would say they're probably handling the way that you'd want them to handle it. I would say they're all competitors. All three of them have All-American talent. It's one of the things when you come to a school like this, that there's going to be other talent around you. You're not going to be the big fish in a small pond, and there's going to be other people that are possibly getting playing time, and other people that are going to be getting set the ball and everything. But they're competitors. They want to be out there. So I don't think they're not dancing a jig when I tell them that we're going to, they're in the game changer role and we're going to go with, the other two.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also not my job to make them happy. That's not something that figures into it. They all have massive strengths, and then they've all got something that the others are a little bit better than them in. So what you want to see them doing is supporting each other and continue to work on their game, being obsessed with getting better, which I love how they're all responding in that way. It certainly has been an adjustment, but the number of times I've looked at each of them and said, man, they just put their best week of practice that I've ever seen out of them. Is exactly what you'd want to see. But all three of them have some different strengths, and we're trying to find ways to utilizing them. And as long as they continue to be prepared and get better, then it's just going to make our team better.
Yeah. So to Corey's question too, he asks as well, do you want to see the position locked down at some point, or do you view the lineup variation as a benefit, given all the talent that you have?
I don't know if I don't see it right now as my choice, or not. It's not my I'm not going to just make a decision to just make a decision. It's, there's an element of they've got strengths and we're playing different types of teams. And, is this strength versus our opponent and what their abilities are? Does this give us a better chance? It also, what are they doing with practices and what are they doing the last handful of matches? And so, we have all that, we've got all the information of how they're blocking. What are the team's attacking numbers? Our opponent's attacking numbers with each of our middles with, let me try to not to butcher this up. We know what each of them are blocking when they're next to Frank. We know what each of them are blocking when they're next to Oz. We know what they're blocking next to Charlie, and et cetera, et cetera. And, and then what their good touch percentage is from the block, what their stuffs are, what their blocking errors are, what their negative block touches are, what each of them are hitting on each set. And then, like a slide, Devin is a really good slide attacker. And there's some teams that we feel like, man, we can really, really pound away on the slide because their defense is not very good against the slide. And then there's other teams that it's like, man, they're really, really good at that. So maybe we're attacking them in other ways.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So Cheese Trader asks on X, about the defensive sub recently. You know, is that when you take the setter out, he calls it the 6-0, 6-0? Is that the official terminology, you know?
Maybe. I don't know. I've never heard that, but
okay.
Let's run with it. Sounds good.
Okay. So he says he hasn't seen that recently. Is this due to Charlie's improvement in blocking? He asks.
Yeah, but it's the whole system. I mean, Charlie doesn't have a lot of blocks, but teams are only hitting 155 on her side of the court. So when she's going up and blocking what we call a go ball or a higher ball, a 1 or a B, a quick in her area, or a rip, that's a second tempo inside. When she's going up and blocking, teams are hitting 155. So out of all of our blockers, that's the third lowest that an opponent is scoring against. Now, granted, team defense is not just the blocker. It's the people, it's a system, it's the people around her. But it's not at a level where we feel like this is just extraordinarily high, and we've got to make an adjustment here.
Okay, and then we've got about a minute left, so you can make this quick. Another 6-2 question. We'll skip that one. I think every week we have a 6-2 question. Eric asks, how do you see the team progressing as they move forward with tougher competition from ranked and non-ranked teams?
We're about ready to find out, right? I mean, it's I know our team is really fired up to test themselves at a different level. I think we're starting to play well. We're certainly practicing better and harder. I think everybody can feel like we're getting better, and I think there's a lot of excitement. Is probably how I would state it right now.
Okay, well, we've got the pre-match show against Oregon coming up next. Don't forget, fans, after the match on your drive home, tune in to ESPN Madison or the Wisconsin On Demand app as well. Download that on your phone. It's really slick to have that. And you can listen to the post-match press conferences on the post-game show. Kelly, thanks so much for the time.
Thanks, John.
All right, this has been the Kelly Sheffield Show.